Don't get used to this. I'm gonna continue to play the toxic partner in this relationship where I show up 5 months too late. This is how I'm toxic. This is how I'm like manipulating into staying in the relationship. Anyways, last week spent maybe 18 minutes shitting on some books that deserved a good well shit on them. And I thought maybe instead of being a bitch about it this week, I'm going to be more of an optimistic than a pessimistic. So this week we are going to be talking about some books that I'm looking forward to reading, whether it's this year or at least the rest of January and February. This year I'm gonna try to take a step back away from book talk just because everyone is kind of fucking toxic on there and they promote like most basic white woman book shit I've ever read. And you know, for me, I enjoyed that during 2023, but again, it's 2024. New year, new me, slay. But I just think like I need to broaden my horizons in what I'm reading, because honestly, I picked up a book and I tried to read it and I was like, oh my god, my brain actually disintegrated in 2023. I'm slowly gonna get a lot of my book recommendations from Goodreads or from fellow friends and book readers that are not on Book Talk, because that's like a special breed of people I just can't be dealing with anymore. So if any of you guys have any book recommendations that aren't gonna make my brain atrophy, like just put it in the comments below because I will be reading those. Okay, side note before I continue with my list of books, if you haven't noticed, this is a very pro-Palestinian platform. So if you're someone who is very much against Palestine for some reason, I don't know why, you're very more than welcome to unsubscribe and to leave. I really don't want to, you know, debate with you, because I'm at the point where I'm past debating with people, like you're either for or against genocide. So that is where my stand is, and if you're someone who disagrees with that, I really don't give a shit and you can just leave. So that's a PSA. So A Winter's Promise by Christelle Debos. I saw actually fan art of this on Pinterest and I thought it was just so beautiful, and I was just like, I need to read this book. So I'm gonna read the premises. Long ago, following a catalysm called the rupture, the world was shattered into many floating celestial islands known as arcs. Each has developed in distinct ways. Each seemed to possess its own unique relationship to time, such that nowadays vastly different worlds exist together but apart. And over all the arcs, the spirit of the omnipotent ancestor abides. Ophelia lives in Anima, an arc where objects have souls. Beneath her worn scarf and thick glasses, the young girl hides the ability to read and communicate with the souls of objects and the power to travel through a mirror. Her peaceful existence of the arc of Anima is disturbed when she is promised in marriage to Thorn, the powerful dragon clan. Ophelia must leave her family and follow her fiancé to the floating capital on the distant arc of the pole. Why has she been chosen? Why must she hide her true identity? Though she doesn't know it yet, she has become a pawn in a deadly plot. That is the premises of this book. Honestly, it's very straightforward. It had a lot of positive reviews on Goodreads, so I was like, you know what, let's give it a whirl. The second book I am really excited to read. It is called The 100 Years' War, Palestine, A History of Settler Colonialism and Resistance from 1917 to 2017. And it is written from the perspective of a Palestinian. It is written by Rashid Khalidi, who also wrote The Palestinian Identity, which I read was a very eye-opening, very heart-wrenching first-person self-account. And I think with what's going on in these times of the whole genocide that is happening in Palestine, we need to, as a duty to ourselves and to others, we need to be really open in reading books that will make you feel uncomfortable, that will push you to change your perspective on what is going on in the world. And it does force you to realize that we aren't just living in this little bubble of like our own world. And I just think that if you are someone who is pro-Palestine and you've donated and you've shared and you've went to protest, you tweeted XYZ, and you're like, I'm still not doing enough, pick up a history book such as this, anything by a Palestinian author, pick it up, read it, do yourselves a favor. There is nothing more disgraceful, I think, within the community of book readers than purposefully refusing to read something that could broaden your self-awareness on certain things. And that is something I am learning and something that I am trying to do this year. So I'm trying to read more on the genocide in the Congo, the genocide in Sudan, the Uyghurs. Like, it's, I mean, as someone who loves history and claim that I love history, I'm not doing a very good job of, you know, picking up a book that talks about it. So for some reason, the book isn't coming up on here, but the third book I want to read this year is called All the Light We Cannot See. It is by Anthony Doerr. I think he did win Goodreads Choice Award and then like the best historical fiction back in 2015. It was then made into a Netflix show, which I have been binging nonstop. I think I've watched it 6 times. Not ashamed to say that at all. It was such a wonderful story, and I'm surprised with myself for not reading it sooner. All the Light We Cannot See is about Marie-Laure, who lives in Paris near the Museum of Natural History where her father works. When she is 12, the Nazi occupy Paris and her father and daughter flee the walled citadel of Saint Malo, where Marie-Laure's reclusive great-uncle lives in a tall house by the sea. With them, they carry what might be the museum's most valuable and dangerous jewel. In a mining town in Germany, Werner Fenning, an orphan, grows up with his younger sister. Enchanted by a crude radio they find that brings them news and stories from places they have never seen or imagined. Werner becomes an expert at building and fixing these crucial new instruments and is enlisted to use his talent to track down the resistance. Deftly interweaving the lives of Maria and Werner, Doerr illuminates the ways against all odds people try to be good to one another. It's a bestseller about a blind French girl and a German boy whose paths collide in occupied France as both try to survive the devastation of World War II. When I first watched the show, I didn't think I was gonna like it because I'm kind of tired of watching movies that romanticize almost like this white supremacist love story between like a Nazi and a village girl that isn't a Nazi or German. I was like really kind of tired of Hollywood and everyone romanticizing this kind of story. So when I first watched the show, I was like very skeptical and didn't think I was gonna like it, but I was actually truly surprised how much I actually loved it, and the fact that it wasn't really romanticizing the aspect or the relationship of like, oh, it's the bad boy Nazi soldier falling in love with this village girl. It was nothing like that at all. It was about these stories about these two characters who were really trying to be good and trying to hold on to hope. So it's kind of a story of these two characters who are resisting in their own ways and how they end up meeting. I'm really excited to see what the book holds because I've never read it. I did hear that it is a book that makes you cry, so I'm looking forward to be sad and cry. I swear if one of those characters ends up dying, I will actually sleep on the highway. I'm filming. How are you? Oh, you got an apple bush. Oh, it's your baby. Can I show me your teeth? Teeth. Bye, baby. You've been with me for 3 years now. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Boop, boop. Oh, thank you. Mom. I love you. Next book I want to read is called I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. For those who don't know, she is a very famous Disney star who was on the iCarly show, and she played a very popular character called Sam. Essentially, this is her story of surviving an abusive relationship with her narcissistic mom, and kind of how like her relationship with her mother affected her during her time on set as well as post iCarly, and kind of how she realized that she was in such a very groomed relationship with her mom, and she recounts the narcissistic abuse again that she had went through from her mom. I just heard nothing but good things about it. Sad thing is that I've noticed that a lot of people could relate to her with being a child of an abusive situation. The reason why I didn't really want to pick it up for a while was because I have my own parental issues and it's left me in really dark places at times, and I was just like, I'm not in the mindset to read it. Now I feel like I kind of am. This book I think will make me angry and make me really sad for her. I think her writing this was such a brave thing to do as well as such a healing thing for her, but I'm gonna give it a whirl. Okay, I have a bone to pick with the entire book community because how are we all sleeping on this book? This book is Sisters of the Circus by Layla Vanek. I have read it like twice and I'm gonna be reading it a third time because first of all, she's my girl and this is her debut novel, and I'm really excited to reread it. And I think like every time I've read it, there was something new that always stood out to me. She's such a brilliant young author who is from South Africa. I met her when she was in the Talk program, and like I can't begin to explain how incredibly amazing she is, and on top of that, just what a brilliant young author. So if you want to support authors of diversity and different storytelling, this book is for you. I'm gonna read the premises of it because I'm just gonna do it a disservice if I try to like from my memory. Sit down, don't go anywhere. I'm gonna read it to you. As Nora pulled the curtain back and stepped up to the mirror to view herself, she gasped. She looked as if she had been dipped in liquid gold. The fabric molded to her like a second skin. Each time she twisted and turned, the light reflected off her body like the ocean at sunset. The attendant handed her gold cuffs to slip onto her ankles. She dragged a chair to face the mirror and sat down to watch her sister's reaction. Kahina's eyes widened as she gave her body once over. Trapeze artist twins, Kahina and Noor, are one of a kind. Kidnapped from their home in India, they were sold to a traveling circus in Europe at 4 years old. Now it's the roaring 20s. The girls are 21, and they want to escape their circus trailer and abusive ringmaster and make their way to India to find their birth parents. If you're someone who loves a good circus story, I definitely would recommend giving this a read. Unfortunately, it's not out in the US like physical copy, but I have been able to read it on my Kindle. I am actually so excited to read this book. I've heard nothing but good things. The Poppy War by R.F. Kong. It did win the Goodreads Choice Award. She was also a nominee for the Best Debut Author back in 2018, as well as a nominee for Best Fantasy back in 2018. Heard that it was a gut-wrenching story, and you know me, I love to be dramatic and I love to read things that make me cry. I think one of the things that made me like really giddy about the fact is that I found out that the main character's name is also the same as one of my main characters that I'm writing in my book. So I was like, oh my god, stop it, Rin. Okay, slay. It's an epic historical military fantasy inspired by the bloody history of China's 20th century and filled with treachery and magic. When Rin aced the Keju, the empire-wide test to find the most talented youth to learn at the academies, it was a shock to everyone, to the test officials who couldn't believe a war orphan from Rooster Province could pass without cheating, to Rin's guardians who believed they'd finally be able to marry her off and further their criminal enterprise, and to Rin herself, who realized she was finally free of the servitude and despair that had made up her daily existence. That she got into Sign Guards, the most elite military school in Nakan, was even more surprising. It was giving me kind of like if Mulan went to like an elite academy, but everyone knew that she was a woman. Anything by June Her has never left me disappointed or wanting. I freaking love this author. She is amazing. And the fact that she's having another book coming out this year, I am so excited. I'm actually so excited. It's called A Crane Among Wolves, and I do believe it is a story about a prince and a physician team up to solve some mysteries at the palace, and it's giving K-drama meets historical fiction, and I'm here for it. And it's like a forbidden love story, so you know me, I'm a sucker for that shit. What I want to talk about is The Forest of Stolen Girls. It is a mystery thriller set in 1426 about a young girl, Hwani, whose father is a detective who went missing in Jeju, who was looking into 13 missing girls, and he ends up vanishing. What she does is she ends up going to the island of Jeju to finish her father's investigation, to see where he is, to see what happened to these 13 girls. She's also trying to patch up her relationship with her estranged sister, who still resides in Jeju. So it's gonna be an interesting read, and I'm very much excited. Any story that's set in South Korea, I am going to be eating that shit up. I didn't realize I talk a lot. Actually, I do. When I edit these videos, I go, wow, you really talk a lot. Anyways, that was it of the video. I'm so excited, really excited to read these books. They all sound very promising. I do realize that I don't think I'll get through all of them through January or even February, just because your girl here is broke and I have to, most of these I read on Libby, or if Kindle has like the unlimited edition, then I read it. It depends on when I can get my hands on these books. This was it of the video. If you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments below. If there's a book that you want me to read or vlog about, DM me, let me know. I'd be more than happy to do that. But otherwise, I'm going to sign off in this video. Thank you so much for watching. Stay hydrated, be kind to yourselves, and free Palestine. Bye!
Oh! Ew! Dude! What the fuck? على عهدي على ديني على أرض تلاقيني